We are live. All right, Josh. Big episode here. We finally got to see the Sith. What did you think of the episode as a whole?
Well, my first thought was, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get more hanging off a cliff like that. Pushes away OSHA, and everyone lights up their lightsabers, which is always a cool sight to see. It's a lot of Jedi against one Sith Master, and the Sith Master just blew everyone away with the Force push. And that's the episode. That's how it ends. And it's like, oh, like for those that are gonna binge watch this and they're not like us watching it and waiting every Tuesday to see a new episode, like it's a great way to just flow right into the next episode. And I think you talked about in our last episode, like episode 5 from the showrunner is supposed to be the one that blows your mind away. So for those that end up binge watching this, you're gonna have a different type of feeling where, oh man, that's how the episode ends. All right, let's go watch the next one. Like,
I was kind of laughing to myself because I thought immediately of your comments in the last podcast we did about the editing, and I
yeah.
was just thinking to myself like, what if that was just poor editing? They never come back to it. They just cut it. They just, oh man,
Oh
there was supposed to be like
man.
2 more minutes of that, but we cut it off, and we don't worry. We'll get back to that next season.
Yeah, that Rotten Tomato score. It's just we'll take another dip.
let's get this super chat from Drew Bogues. He says, if Manny Cinto turns out to be the villain, I'm going to rewatch The Good Place with a different view. Cheers, gents. Yeah, for
Me
sure.
too.
For sure. We'll get to him in a little bit, but the first thing I want to talk about, Josh, is so they start off the episode with going like they're like in Kalnaka's just walking and he goes into his place and there's all of these drawings on his walls. Um, the scribblings of a madman, I would say. And they seem to relate to the coven, right? Like they seem to go back to that. This similar imagery. And so my question to you is, did they somehow touch his mind, or is his mind affected by what happened that night? Think about Torben. Torben, when they actually did something to him, his eyes, blacked out, and like he was unconscious. Do you think maybe something similar happened to Kalnaka? Is he just overall affected by what happened at that place?
Well, this planet seems to have a dark power, Chorizy, because they're very worried about how much daylight there is. And I wonder if that's where in the 5th episode we're gonna see what lurks in the dark. And what was the name of the tree though in episode 2 that the girls were hanging out with?
The
And
Bunta tree.
the
The Bunta
Bunta
tree
tree.
witches. Yeah.
Is there a Bunta tree on this planet? Did
Maybe
Kalnaka
something.
go into the forest and run into another Bunta tree, ate something off the Bunta tree, and it's possessed him?
Yeah, I mean, like there's something not right in his mind, right? And like it's what's going on in his place just makes me think that something happened, like something from Brendock carried with him, and like it's driving him insane.
Do you think maybe they tapped into his mind? I mean, there's so many questions still
I
lingering from the 2nd episode because the way that Kelnaka dies doesn't look like he put up much of a fight.
Right, and and I thought we were going to see him fight more because
It wasn't in the budget.
in the trailer there's a crazy scene where he's like flying through the air with a lightsaber. So since he's already dead here, I have to assume that was back back on Brendock, and it makes me wonder, like, if we're going to hear a different version of this story, like the version that Saul wanted to tell May and Osha, is if it's very different than the one that the kids remember. So like I'm interested to see if there's something there, if there was some kind of if there was more of a conflict than it seemed to be than just a pile of dead bodies.
Yeah, there has to be. We've got a lot of questions here. And I think a lot of good questions when it comes to the plot that maybe we only got a snippet and we will return. Maybe that is the next episode, but that'd be kind of weird. Again, as far as the editing, you in on a cliffhanger. I'm assuming
Oh
episode
man,
5 starts with that lightsaber battle, but if you
it would
go
be
back
it would be
6,
brutal if they go back and just don't touch on this till like episode 6.
yeah, that would people are already irate. Man, that would set everyone off. Yeah.
The other thing at kind of the front of the show that was interesting to me, and we'll talk about, is uh Vernestra talking to Soul and talking actually to the larger group. Um, she's very nervous about the Senate or
Yeah.
anyone else getting a hold of this, and like she talks about some kind of shift, something to tip the scales. Do you think she is aware that there are still Sith?
That's a good question. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe that would be her answer too. Like if we were transported into this episode, she cannot definitively say no, the Sith don't exist anymore. I am curious about like what's the political game here for the Jedi and the Jedi masters here? Why are they withholding information from the
And
council
and why
and
are they so afraid of the Senate? Is the other
right?
piece, yeah.
We don't know the answer to those questions. I mean, those are great questions too that hopefully we do get answers in future episodes. But we're already halfway through this single shot season of the Acolyte. So again, we've got a lot of questions that need to be answered in the last 4 episodes. But that's kind of like in this scene, that's what my takeaway was. And then the Jedi were like giving weird glances at Soul, like, and at that moment, I was buying your conspiracy theory for a moment, Chorizy. Maybe Soul was the Sith master, and they were skeptical of like his angle and his attachment to Osha. And why do you feel so possessed to reconcile this situation with May? Very good questions from an outside perspective. If you're a Jedi looking at this situation for the first time with fresh eyes, being like, yeah, you're too close to this dude. Let us take care of it because you may not take care of it properly. Those were my big takeaways
I
from
I
from
agree
that scene.
with the glances. There's a lot of side looks, and there's two parts to
A
that are
lot of
interesting to me.
judging.
There is a lot of judging, and there's a lot of like, oh, if there was a splinter group, we'd know about it, like that kind of thing. And like, but what was interesting in the one of the side glances is when he's talking about May and that nobody could have survived that fall, right? We're talking about a force user. Everybody just saw that was a force user, right? And so what's what struck me was like they two of them turn around, Coyote Mundi and then that Master Holden turn around and kind of look at him like what? And the reason they look at him like that is because if you think of what Jedi can do, and then you think about in the High Republic books, there's a scene where I think it's Loden Greatstorm throws Belzetifar, who's his Padawan, like off a cliff to teach him how to learn to like fall and like brace himself before he hits the ground. Right? Like this is an ongoing thing that they do. And it's like, yeah, like if you're a force user, you should be able to like fall like that and like stop yourself and land. And it's like kind of reinforced later with like the Sith kind of like lowering in like very slowly in the background. But like so that part is like, yeah, I think they looked at that and was like, that's kind of bull, man. What are you talking about? And I think the other side of that is that like in that room, it seems that there's just a lot of secrets being held back from each other. Like Vernestra waits to get outside to even question uh Soul about this and is
Yeah, good
trying
point.
to do it quiet. And they also kind of reinforce this by having Coyote Mundi in the room because he's the one in the in the prequels that's like there hasn't been Sith for 1,000 years, and it's like yeah, if everybody's keeping secrets from each other, they don't know that any of these threats exist, and they become like overconfident in everything. So I was I was interested in all of that, like secret keeping, like half truth telling. It was something that like is very problematic, but is kind of threaded throughout this show.
Yeah, and the Jedi at this point are like a corporation, like a large scale business. The left hand and the right hand don't 100% know what's going on. You're supposed to know the big things, but evidently that's being withheld for reasons.
Yeah, I mean, like it's seemingly political, which is funny because the Senate is truly in the end what destroys them. But they have you could see the lack of foresight, and like it's a good. I think they're doing a good job of building up the prequel era and like understanding like what exactly was going on, why they could be blindsided the way that they
Well,
were.
I mean, throughout the Star Wars show so far, I mean, depending on the show, we are seeing how the rebels undermine the Empire. Now we've seen with Ahsoka as well how the New Order, the Siths, the dark side undermine the Republic.
Right. And now we're seeing this all the way back. I like it. I think it's good for kind of the continuity of all of it. Of course, people are very upset about Coyote Mundi being in there or having dark hair or whatever the hell. I don't care. I thought it was cool to see him. I think I do have a question though, because in the later scene, there's this dude over here looks a lot like Plo Koon, but but this is the group that's facing uh possibly Khmer, but the Sith Master. They're facing off. Who dies? Who's not going to make it? And obviously, the unnamed Jedi in this are gonna die. Like
Yeah.
there's no like there's no worse thing to be in a Star Wars movie than a character that has zero name. Like you are dying.
Well,
That's the
they
end of your
have a
story.
name. You just won't hear
Well,
about it until Comic-Con when
yeah,
somebody
exactly.
quizzes you.
We'll get that name in on Wikipedia
Yeah.
in like a year. But for now, they're unnamed. That means red lightsaber right through their head. Like
Yeah.
so we know they're dead. But let's look at some of the others. So so Osha's obviously there, May is there, and then you've got Jackie, Yord, and Soul all there. And let's assume that that's not Plo Koon, because uh, if it was, we know that he lives.
Yeah. I'm going to say Jackie, Yord, and Soul survive.
Okay.
So out of you got 8 Jedi right here. Yeah, 5 are dying.
I mean I think I'm pretty much with you. I think Yord definitely lives. Soul lives because he's orchestrating this whole thing. But I I wonder if they'll kill off Jackie. I think it would be really impactful if she dies, especially because it seems like there's starting to be a friendship between her and Osha. You know, they seem to like enjoy each other's company. They it seemed like Osha was at least going to miss Jackie. She goes and says goodbye to her. So like I think if you did that and then you have Soul who's already overly attached to Osha, probably overly attached to May, now you give him this. Like we might see even if like let's assume Soul's not the bad guy of this, you might still see a spiral, right? Like all three of the people he was on Brendock with are now dead. His new Padawan's dead. The one kid he saved probably hates his guts at this point once they find out what happened on Brendock. Like it seems like it could be a true disaster for him. So I think that I could see that happening, or Jackie they fast forward and Jackie takes this on her own at some point. Like, but I just kind of feel like they might kill her off. It might make a lot more sense to the plot.
Well, I feel like with Yord, if you kill him off, the Yord horde is going to
Oh,
be
they'll erupt.
upset. That's
They'll
another.
erupt.
Then that'll be another group upset at this show.
And I don't know. I don't know how much it does for the plot if he dies, unless he dies doing something extremely heroic, right?
Right.
Like saving May, right? Like that would have to be the thing. Like he would have to save May from the Sith Master. That would be like the only way that I would see it, like being like, and this is how Yord dies. What a noble Jedi he was. The Yord Horde will be very happy that he died so honorably. But like I don't know. I feel like he's gonna stick around. I feel like there's but I think it could be really crazy to see Jackie die. And then staying on this kind of forest here where we're at, there's that scene in the trailer where Vernestra has the light whip. Do you think that's her coming for in this moment, or do you think that's her coming later for like finding the survivors of whatever just happened?
Oh, that's a good question. I forgot about the lightsaber whip.
Yeah, that thing's gonna be awesome whenever we finally see it.
I'm gonna say next episode.
Okay, so we're gonna get her in next episode, probably coming after this though, right? Like, because I
Because
think that was
maybe Kel,
during that seemed during the day. This seems like it's at night.
yeah, Kel Naka maybe sent out a distress call when he got sliced.
Yeah, or it's just taking too long for this mission to happen.
Yeah, or she sends something, a disturbance of the force, that there was trouble and you needed me.
I am interested in what happens at night. So they're facing off with this Sith Master at night, but like it seems like there's plenty of weird stuff in that forest. Those big whatever bug looking things that were
Cicadas. I believe they're called cicadas.
They were cicada looking. They were more, I will say they were slightly more aggressive than cicadas. But I don't know how many of those there were in that forest, but man, a bunch of those coming through would be something else.
Well, and they're attracted to light, so they're going to be going after the guys that have lightsabers, which they need their lightsabers on because they're dealing with the Sith Master.
That'll be crazy. That's a good point. Like if they like the fact that they pointed that out, if there's this big lightsaber battle, if those things all like swoop in, that would be absolutely wild.
Yeah. What a great way to die as a Jedi, getting killed by a cicada.
Or like 30 of them. Like 30 of them like, they just carry Yord away and we never see him again.
Oh, that's great.
They're like, this guy looks the most delicious. We'll take him with us. And this beautiful yellow lightsaber. So this is something that I wanted to talk about. There's an internet theory. So we see that May possibly drew out Khmer. So let's start with that actually first. So I was talking with Chorizy earlier, and she's like, "Do you feel like that the whole beginning of that episode is just May trying to figure out if Khmer is actually the master?" And I kind of like on the rewatch, I was like, "Yeah, it does," because she asks a lot of questions of him, where he has to like kind of dance around the truth and like things that like she asks him things where it's like it doesn't make sense that what Khmer appears to be could have done the things that like tracking down Kalnaka, going into a forest where like bounty hunters won't even go. Like he does all this and like it's like, oh, I was just doing it for you, just trying to be helpful, right? Like so I think like do you feel like she was trying to draw him out, or do you feel like she might just still not have realized that he was as involved as he is?
I agree with you that she's trying to flush out what Kirmir's end game is. Like, what is your role? Because she gives off the impression that she doesn't fully know, or she doesn't
Yeah.
fully understand why he's being so helpful when she may not even need his help. But yeah, especially when she set up the trap, I think she realized, or her suspicion it might be true, that yeah, this guy is the unknown master. And I'm going to run. I'm going to give myself up. The Jedi will protect me because I know it's you. That is the new Dark Lord. And I think it is because he's in a trap and suddenly the Jedi don't find him. I mean, they're following the screams. It would have led them to him being hung up on a rope. And we don't get that scene. And he's got this weird smile on the mask. So I think it's Kirmir. That's my guess. He's the dark one.
He's still my guess for who's underneath the mask, but I did hear an internet theory that I want to throw at you because I thought it was interesting, is that this person thought Mother Coral is actually the person underneath the mask. And I was like, I got to go back and watch this. I got to go back and see Is she in the bodies that are strewn about? And this is about as close as you get in the picture that I'm showing. And it's hard to see, and I don't see anyone really horned in that picture. Um,
I'm
but
glad
if
you said
she's,
horned. I thought you were going to use a different word, but okay.
oh yeah, I could have
It's a
said,
group of people laying next to each other.
I could have said horny, but like at the end of the day, I did see a couple people in there that looked horny, but they didn't have horns on their head. So like
No.
I had to go away from that one. But I don't see her in there. It would make sense from a couple standpoints of like how did May get out of there? Um, but the problem is like could Coral have kept it a secret from May as long as she did? That's where I kind of like it's seemingly difficult that she would have never like revealed in any sense that this was her, how quickly she found her, all these things. So like I like the theory. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the theory of Mother Coral being the master here?
I I'm not gonna buy it because I don't think Mother Coral would have dressed like a Sith. I think she just would have stayed her way, the Covenant, reminding the Jedi of what you destroyed, and remained a witch. I don't think she would have followed that path of the Sith, created a red lightsaber, which again, you kill a Jedi and you bleed out the Kyber crystal. So Kiermaier has killed another Jedi to create the lightsaber that he currently has. So I'm like 99.99% sure it's Kiermaier as the Dark
So
Master.
I'm with you there, and I think that they've made that like less of a mystery than I think some people might have thought. Like myself, I thought it was going to be more of a mystery as to who this is. To me, it's semi obvious of who it is, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I don't think that that's the big mystery of the show. The big mystery of the show is like what happened on Brendock, right? I mean, like these are side players in whatever that story is, and it's really like how is this Sith Master trying to, or possibly Sith Apprentice trying to use that information. But that leads me to a question, Josh. Let's say it is Khmer. Let's say we're right. We just saw him like throw a half dozen Jedi away with the just a swing of his hand. Is this a Sith Lord, or are we talking apprentice still? Like, because I think we both walked into this thinking maybe this is the apprentice, and we're not going to get the master for a while. Are we seeing a genuine Sith Lord here?
Great question. I don't want to say I don't think Kiermaier would be the Sith Lord unless he's really taking a different direction. Like the deception from Palpatine to Anakin Skywalker in the prequels was very good, but it wasn't this loose. It wasn't goofy. It was very much a I'm trying to advise you. You look to me as your mentor. So let me mentor you and tell you stories that the Jedi will never tell you because I have this insight that they do not. And why do you have that insight? That's too personal, Anakin. Kiermaier here though is like hand holding May to go through the goals and this quest that he set up for her.
Right.
But like, why? Why does Kiermaier continue to push May? And it makes me wonder if he's not the Sith Lord, that he does have a master. But as we have seen with other Star Wars content, right? Even like Darth Vader was trying to like, and this is a big thing in like video games, like join me, we could rule the empire together. We can kill the emperor. Like that just seems to be a running theme with the Siths is like the apprentice at some point gets sick of it, recruits someone to
Yeah.
be their apprentice so they can be a Sith Lord and then overtake the Sith Lord.
Yeah, I mean Plagueis Plagueis was similar. They had like or like sorry, the Plagueis and Palpatine thing was similar. Like it if if the Legends continuity is all we have to go off of really. But uh Maul was alive at the same time as Plagueis. So like the apprentice had an apprentice in that situation, you know. So I think that yeah, I agree. Like this is kind of par for the course. So I could see the apprentice saying like, yeah, I want to do this thing. This is how I'm going to draw out the Jedi, and maybe you know get favor from his master for like what a great job he's done. And I think to some point, much like most Sith, just sees May as disposable. If it works out, yeah, great, we'll kill the master. If not, yeah, we'll just dispose of you and we'll get my what I wanted to do done. So
Yeah, you killed Jedi. Thank you.
exactly, and like I think part of like the power that we see there is partially how powerful this Sith is, but also that the Jedi are just unprepared for this situation.
Right.
They can't believe that this type of person even exists in their world, and they're just caught totally off guard because you would think they would have sensed him, and it seems like Soul does for a moment. And like you don't know if he's sensing the death of Kalnaka or if he's sensing the Sith, but he senses something and he's like, it's nothing. You know, like just kind of like wipes it away, like I don't believe what I'm feeling right now. And so yeah, I think they're just completely unprepared for it. Now, if I want to keep on the track that Soul is the one kind of overseeing this whole operation, I will say that on rewatch, I noticed that while everybody else gets thrown into the dust, he's on top of it, not really. He's getting thrown backwards, but not in the dust. And that's enough for me to keep my belief that he's in charge of
Okay,
everything
I
and
got
that
it.
it's not just cinematography going, hey, the star of the show should probably still be showing in this shot. I'm just going to believe in my mind that he's still the Sith master.
Okay, you can run with that still. That's fine. You're wrong, but I still don't know what Soul's end game is. I have a feeling that Soul's going to die. I
You
think
think
he's the Jedi that gets killed without a weapon.
oh wow. I mean that's very possible. That's very possible that he he does. I wonder if the Jedi being killed without a weapon uh was really some kind of metaphor for what they had May doing, letting all these Jedi like she's leading them to their death without a weapon, although Kamir's gonna, you know, handle the business. So what do you think happens next, Josh? What are we gonna see in the next episode?
Kirmir resurrects Kilnaka to be a zombie Jedi and attacks from behind. No, the cicadas definitely come. Some creatures, because he's outnumbered. Uh, Something comes out of that forest that the Jedi also have to fight, which is a great distraction in order for Kirmir to like chop down a bunch of Jedi. Kirmir escapes with not only May but Osha,
Okay.
and then I don't know, Soul, Yord, and Jeki, like, do they go back to Coruscant to explain what happened, or they continue to chase?
Yeah, I could see a scenario where you know they Kamir gets off of the planet with, I would say with Osha, not with, maybe not with May,
Ooh, a
and
twist.
forces them to chase him, right? Like forces them to go after him and maybe, you know, expose a little bit of what they've done. You know, like I think that might be the case. It might be as simple as like him just like killing a bunch of them until he can grab Osha and get out of there. But I do agree with you. Something in that forest, something is going to come out and disrupt this fight. Like the fight's going to be entertaining, but I think that yeah, like something crazy is going to come from the forest. I think a bunch of those, maybe a bunch of those things, maybe some other weird animal, um, and kind of cause a bunch of chaos. And in the chaos, everybody's going to disperse. The survivors are going to disperse, and there's going to be some bit of the Jedi coming to Kofar trying to find out what the heck happened, and no one really knowing, and more secrets afoot because somehow they don't know about Sith in the prequels, they're going to kind of keep this one under wraps too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Senate will never know who these people are
Yeah. Yeah.
until they get
So
taken over by one.
exactly. Exactly. And then they don't even know that that's a Sith. So they just go with it. This is cool. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, I enjoyed this episode. I think the plot continues to thicken, and whatever happened on Brendock is the main, most
Mystery.
important piece of this show. So
Yeah, I agree.
we got,
I definitely agree.
well, we went early this week. We went on Wednesday, so we got to wait quite a while to get the next episode. But you know, we will be back next week as well to recap. Hopefully, we get that full lightsaber fight and not a flashback episode, so that everybody could be happy and we can all enjoy this show. But until then, we will see you at the park or on our White Sox shows. So talk to you soon.